Hey guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another retro magazine thing, because this time we're going to be looking through Arcane Magazine Issue 3 from 1996. Now, during this period, the role-playing industry was very much in a period of transition, because so many things were changing. Within this issue, we've got the story of how Games Designers Workshop, which published Twilight 2000 and Traveller at the time, was going out of business. We've also got news of Wizard of the Coast laying off staff, and we're only a couple of years before TSR itself went out of business. Funnily enough, getting bought over by Wizard of the Coast. But very much a time of transition, but so much coming out, so much fascinating stuff to look through. So I think we're going to really enjoy looking through this one. So let's go over to the desktop and have a look through Arcane issue number 3. So this is Arcane Magazine. It's issue number 3 from February 1996. And first thing I should probably mention on this one, the cover is slightly more plush than many other magazines. It feels almost velvety. Definitely more expensive. Now, Arcane Magazine had loads of role-playing stuff in it, but lots of news, and that's the sort of tone it was going for in the late 90s. But it's introducing us to lots and lots of role-playing games, just as the internet and computing role-playing was kind of taking off. So, delving inside, first of all, we've got a big double-page advert for the Birthright campaign. Now, I'm doing a series where I'm covering all the campaign settings for Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, so I'll be getting onto Birthright. But this is an absolutely lovely advert, showing a huge battle going on and introducing us to the different books. Inside, we've got an advert for Mage the Ascension, the contents page, an advert for Silent Death, and then the editorial, where the major thing they're talking about it is, first news they got was Wizard of the Coast announced significant redundancies at its Seattle offices, and then Games Designers Workshop has gone out of business. Now, 1996, late 90s, they'd already stopped Challenge magazine a year or so earlier, but this was them going completely out of business. A sad, sad day, because, as I've spoken about many times, I loved Games Designers Workshop games. Inside, write up about Wizard of the Coast, obviously not taking into account the fact that they'd lost a significant amount of their staff, but they're talking about Primal Order, Talislanta, Ars Magica, Everway. Lots of games around they brought out. They also had brought in Nightfall Games. Now, I thought Nightfall Games went to TSR, not Wizard of the Coast. I've perhaps been mistaken when I spoke that in the past. I've misremembered these years. Whatever happened, they were eventually set free, signed up with Hogshead Publishing, and now they're publishing for themselves again. Some news about Games Workshop, talking about the Super Tuesday campaign book for Shadowrun, which I've covered on the channel, going into the election in the Shadowrun world. Big advert for Virtual Realities 2.0. I haven't covered any of the Virtual Realities books. Must get around to doing them as well. Put them in the poll sometime soon. The news about Games Designers Workshop going down. What will happen to the games. And I always liked this column, famous for 15 minutes. It was where people would write in about where role-playing games had appeared in television. And this is talking about the show Taggart, where it was part of one of the investigations. Now, for most people outside the UK, they'll have no idea what Taggart was. It was a detective show, a cop show. Originally based around a detective called Taggart, but when that actor died, it just followed the people who'd been his sidekicks as they got increased in rank. People joked about it being called Taggartless. But it's very, very Scottish. It's set in Glasgow. The famous line that people would mock it for was, "There's been a murder." So, in this one, the sidekick plays Dungeons & Dragons as part of a murder inquiry. They sort of mock it initially, but then take it on. "What's it about?" says Taggart. "Intellectual stimulation, role-playing. Give me snakes and ladders any day." So, what else we got here? The Crow collectible card game. Middle-earth: The Wizards. Talking about Virtual Realities 2, Legends of Earthdawn, and an advert for the Ultra 64. Now, obviously, now we know it was called the Nintendo 64, but this was way back before it was released, when it was still going to be called the Ultra 64. I remember going to an arcade when I was on holiday in America. I went wandering around for a few months in America, stayed there, and I hung around an arcade in the bottom of a shopping centre and played Killer Instinct on Ultra 64 hardware, and instantly bought an N64 when it came out because I loved Killer Instinct. Talking about websites to do with role-playing, I really should probably check out some of these, but I very much doubt any of them are around, especially as some of them have like port numbers built into the name. It's very doubtful that any websites which are mentioned here still exist. A retro RPG on Judge Dredd the role-playing game, first published by Games Workshop in 1984, now out of print. Great stuff. Cabal card game, advertising SFX, and they also advertised their sister magazine .net, which I think is still going. Big advert for Robo Rally. Don't know much about that one. I still know it's going. Albion, a video game. Tunnels and Trolls. An advert for Slay Industries. Parental Mature Material Advisory. Very like that very much. Nightfall Design Team and Wizard of the Coast. A column on how to explain role-playing games to your granny. And then we've got a very slim role-playing game, the Skool Roolz. Now, this is based on a bunch of novels which were released down with school. I've got it somewhere around. I should have probably put it to hand to show off. By Jeffrey Williams and Ronald Searle. And this is about a kid misbehaving when he's away at school. So he's living at the school. And fighting with other students and cheating on things and being a mischief. And we've got a role-playing game of this. So talking about different characteristics, combat and skills use. It rolls d6s against a target number. Experience, and we've got different scenarios. I think that's quite fun. I can't see myself running it, but I do like the fact that it exists, especially as I'm a big fan of those novels. Read them since I was a little kid. Strangeness and Charm, or how to make your characters come alive. Some suggestions on fleshing out your characters. Trick or Cheat. Advice for games masters. You know, how to go through it. Panic on air. Different ways to treat it. Create an atmosphere. Then we've got Worldbuilder Part 3. People and Tribes. So how to flesh out your world with different tribes and different types of peoples, suggesting for sci-fi Klingons and for fantasy hobbits. And we're getting towards the middle. And in Arcane, they always had these pull-out sections, which was a location. So this time it's Mr. Smith's Mysterious Emporium. And we've got a description of it in a fantasy historical setting, so Victorian Edwardian setting, modern day version. And we've got a pull-out map. Obviously I can't show you all of it because I keep mine stapled in, but there's a cybershop version and different common locations throughout it, adventure possibilities. Next month, Stormberg, mysterious floating city that is concealed within the eye of a hurricane. And then we're going on to the review section. We've got an advert for the Warhammer game, video game Shadow of the Horned Rat. PC, CD-ROM, Windows 95 for $44.99. Pretty expensive. Apparently it was also out on the PlayStation, $40. This month in games, so what we got? We've got Cyber Generation, which I've covered on the channel in the past. Now, they mentioned that this was a source book for Cyberpunk 2020, but this is a standalone version, the second edition. A review of Warhammer Shadow of the Horned Rat. 8 out of 10 they give it. Now, obviously it looks very basic now, but that's a 1996 video game. Codex Angels of Death for $40k. We've got the revised edition of the Dark Sun campaign. Now, I've covered this on the channel way back at the beginning, but I think I'm going to do a coverage of the basic Dark Sun box at some point soon. The original one. Virtual Realities 2, a lot of material on that in this issue. Throwing Stones, 5 out of 10. They don't seem to like that too much. An advert for Street Warriors. What else we got? Anvil of Dawn, a role-playing game for the PC. Nightmare Lands for Ravenloft. Technical Readout 3058. Love these source books for Battletech. Just so many different mechs in them and vehicles in it. I adore just leafing through those, although it's been so long since I played Battletech itself. Stone Keep. So many of these video games which seem like the kind of thing I would have liked, but I just don't remember. Armed and Dangerous for Robo Rally. Dixie, the Mort sourcebook for Slay Industries. Chronicles of War, a box set for Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Pages from the Mages, the Crow collectible card game. Warcraft 2, that's how early we are. Regency Combat Vehicle Guide for Travel of the New Era. Guessing that's not going to sell many when it was one of the last books out. What else we got? City Designer and an expansion disc for Campaign Cartographer. Now, we covered the Forgotten Realms version of that on the channel. Skypoint Adventures for Earthdawn. Centaur Casting, Heroes of Legend 2nd Edition. Mecton Zeta Tactical Display, Gilded Lily, again for Travel of the New Era. The Dying of the Light, they score it 8 out of 10. I covered that fairly recently on the channel. A big advert for Everway. I really must have a look at that at some point. Visionary Role-Playing. I have no memory of it at all. It seems to include fortune cards. We've got a section on miniatures. Some classified ads. Reviews of various books. I don't think there's anything particularly I recognise here. I probably read Shadowrun Just Compensation, but I don't remember it. But I haven't read any of these books. Elric's Sword, Song of the Black Sword. Star Trek Revisitations. 24-Hour War. What else we got? Aliens, Deadliest of the Species, Predator. Lone Wolf 24, Rune War. I probably played that. I do believe I played up past that one. Classic Star Wars number 3. Free read ads. Subscribe to Arcane for as little as £8. We've got a letters page, or pages, and then a story by TB False Name, episode 2. And on the back, Druid Demons of the Mind for the PC. And on the back cover, another advert for Slay Industries, the Key of Deliriad, which never seems to win a poll on the channel. I would love to cover it at some point, but there's a big advert for it. One of the most important artifacts of Aben history. The Key of Deliriad is well worth over 1 million credits. Its loss is a great blow to the world of progress. So, be interesting to look at that, if only it would win a poll. And that is Arcane Issue 3. Fantastic look back at the 1990s. So, that was Arcane Magazine Issue number 3. Now, while I was recording that, during the Skool Roolz, I mentioned that I'd got a book which that role-playing game was based on. And here's the book. I've went and dug it out. The Molesworth series. Now, these were written for kids about a misbehaving boy at a public school. So he'd been sent away and he was staying there with his little brother, running around, annoying the school teachers, etc. But these were really fun because, as well as lots of text, they had little cartoons in them. Many of the things, they had very silly things going on in it. And one of the things I absolutely loved, if I can quickly flick to one, the picture of the masters. But there were little maps, you know, things of how to fly a paper aeroplane to lodge in the school teacher's hair and annoy them to maximum amount. I absolutely adored that as a kid, so the Skool Roolz role-playing game in that comes across as a lot of fun to me. But obviously your mileage may vary depending on what you were brought up with, but I found that quite incredible that it really did key in with something from my youth which I didn't think was that common. There's a lot of other great stuff in there. As I said at the start of the video, it's a real look into that period of time when role-playing was in such a transition, before Wizard of the Coast became the massive company running Dungeons & Dragons, when TSR was still trying and being so experimental, when other companies were going out of business, and so many small companies were coming up and giving role-playing a try. A real look into that, and something I adore having those memories of and leafing through. But anyway, as usual, I think I've been wittering on for quite long enough, so thank you very much for watching. But as always, most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.